Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you are joining us for this session. On behalf of my colleagues at both FBN and UNCTAD, I'd like to welcome all our participants and panelists, as well as all of the representatives from the family business community that are here with us today. We are excited to have you with us to discuss the evolving role of transparency in privately held family firms. This is an increasingly important topic, given the fact that family businesses account for 2/3 of all enterprises and contribute to over 70% of global GDP, which means that family businesses must be engaged in achieving the SDGs if the targets are going to be reached in the coming years. At the same time, the full scope of the impacts created by the family business community is largely unknown, since many of them have chosen to remain quiet about their activities over the years. This has recently begun to change as more business families expand the concept of responsible ownership to include a deeper understanding of their impacts and an increased commitment to transparency. At the same time, several external and internal forces are also putting pressure on family businesses to be more public, including demands from ESG reporting from capital markets and an insistence from their next generation that they do business differently. Fortunately, many family businesses are facing these challenges as any good entrepreneur would. They are increasingly seeing sustainability as an opportunity to lead. However, as we all know, moving from understanding to action isn't always easy. As a recent survey has shown, over 55% of family businesses have clearly identified this opportunity, but only 37% of them have a strategy in place. Through the work we have done on sustainability at the Family Business Network over the years, we have come to understand that one of the main reasons this delta exists is that many family businesses struggle with the question of how to get started. Solving this issue is one of the aims of the Family Business for Sustainable Development Partnership, which has been jointly developed with our colleagues at UNCTAD. In turn, I'm pleased to introduce James Zahn, Director of the Investment and Enterprise Division at UNCTAD and co-chair of the FBSD Executive Board, who will share a few details about the initiative, as well as the sustainability indicators for family business that have been developed as a central pillar of the initiative. James, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Distinguished panelists, partners, and participants, greetings from Geneva. It is a great pleasure that to be with you, and together we launch this important platform. So as you all know, that this year's World Investment Forum is held against a kind of backdrop of pandemic of a century, and COVID-19 has led kind of worst crisis in the world economy since the 1930s. And since its outbreak, severe unemployment has been coupled with a disturbed supply chain and reduced income at a global level. Poverty is on the rise again and reversing the development gains and hampering our efforts to achieve the SDGs. What we have seen now, basically, the global economy on the recovery trajectory, that both trade and investment are really expected to recover by the end of the year. But the rapid recovery is coupled with growing divergence. Such divergence meaning that the poorest countries are tracing behind of the growth, and they are still in difficulties in attracting investment. And also we see in the meantime kind of rapid growth of finance for sustainable development. In fact, the sustainable themed kind of funds have increased by over 80% last year in the middle of the pandemic. But having said that, the funds are really not move across the equator to the south or to be used in SDG focused sectors, except for renewable and health. So there's daunting task for international community. In the meantime, we do see that there's important need, there's a great need to mobilize the private sector in contributing to SDGs, to poverty alleviation, to sustained economic growth and inclusive development. In that sense, we see the driving force of the family businesses. And as we all know, that it is estimated that 2/3 of enterprises worldwide are owned by or managed by families, accounting for over 60% of the global employment and 70% of the production. These unprecedented global challenges have further shown how tightly the activities of family business are woven into the economic, social, and environmental fabric of today's changing world. So on the road to economic recovery, the family business can not only help to overcome previous constraints related to productive and technological capacity, but also contribute to a stronger and more sustainable economic growth. So indeed, there are plenty of opportunities for family businesses to tap for resilience, inclusive, and the green resurgence. We believe that they can make a huge difference in global efforts towards sustainable development. However, the difficulties remain to track and assess the private sector's contribution to SDGs. They are the invisible contributors to global sustainable development. So in particular, we see the relevant data that are scarce for non-listed companies. So not to engage family business in the discourse on the sustainable development leaves their potential contributions to the SDGs vastly undervalued. So here we see that it is important to share the information and to let the world know that family business are really contributing significantly to sustainable development. It's very important. So in this regard, and a first dialogue was initiated at the World Investment Forum in 2018 that we try to get family business on board. So we have taken a kind of more concrete step. At the beginning of this year, UNCTAD and the Family Business Network formally launched the Family Business for Sustainable Development initiative. And this is thanks to the great efforts of our friend Alfonso and also Gozeli and the Parles board, and also with the support of Andrew in this regard. And we are particularly grateful to the president of Family Business Network, Fahad, is here. His support, bringing the Family Business Board on board. The board on board is extremely important, and the national focal points networks. So we successfully launched this initiative at the beginning of this year, and this is the kind of a first of its partnership between the United Nations and the global family business community. So in support of this initiative, UNCTAD draws upon several decades of success experience as a global center of excellence on issues related to investment enterprise for sustainable development. So this initiative provides a family business with ways and means to integrate sustainability into their conventional business models and to evidence their contributions to the SDGs. So the key components include, for instance, the Family Business Sustainability Pledge. Now we have a count of about 330 signatories. And we also have a component called Sustainability Indicators for Family Businesses. And then we have a component called Global Stakeholder Platforms. So that's we have been experiencing and participating in that World Investment Forum. And there's other network events. And then we have a fourth component, which is capacity building. So at a global level, the implementation of SDGs needs a monitoring framework and support the national data collection. So entities reporting is a kind of important source of data for such a framework. And in this sense, transparency, information disclosure at a micro level are important. So the collecting of relevant data on firms' contribution to SDGs remains a challenging thing at the moment. And a practical guidance on core indicators is a key. And thanks to the collaboration with Family Business Network and with the support of the president of the network, that we jointly developed this set of indicators based on the United Nations Intergovernmental Working Group of Experts, International Standards of Accounting and Reporting, based on their indicators that developed by UNCTAD. And then we collectively developed this Family Business Network sustainability indicators. And there are 9 additional indicators added specifically for family business. And in fact, this is a contribution from the family business. In fact, the success of indicators are what I called of the family business, from the family business, and for the family business. And based on that, now we have developed a kind of technical architect, a platform for reporting of these indicators. That is the purpose of this meeting, to launch that platform. So the online platform is to facilitate the reporting, and it is ready for you, for family businesses. And the platform will go live today and can be accessed at our joint website, which is fbsd.unctad.org/indicators. And it will be a shared kind of platform with Family Business Network website. So it is a user-friendly reporting template for family firms of all sizes, industries, and geographies to track, measures, and report their sustainability performance over time. And it's available to family business all around the world at no cost, that I wish to emphasize. So we believe that in an era of accelerated digitalization, such a digital approach will further help access and report sustainability performance of family businesses, as well as evaluate and recognize their contribution to the implementation of the SDGs. So I will stop here and back to you, Andrew.
Great. Thank you, James. Thank you for the great synopsis of both the partnership as well as an introduction to the indicators. At this point, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists, all of whom have contributed generously in terms of both time and resource in helping us test and refine the sustainability indicators for family business. As James mentioned in his remarks, the sustainability indicators for family business include a core set of 33 traditional sustainability indicators that have been developed through extensive consultations and consensus building among key experts and endorsed by ISAR, along with 9 specific family business indicators focusing on good family governance and recognizing the positive contributions of the business family. All of the family businesses represented on this panel were involved in a case study process, which focused on testing all of the indicators to ensure they were fit for purpose. The case studies were developed over a number of months and resulted in significant learnings for both the FBSD initiative as well as each of these family businesses. These cases will be published shortly and will be available for download on the FBSD website. One of the key outcomes of the case studies was the alignment of all the stakeholders on the current set of indicators, which are now available for any family business to use at no cost, no matter where they are on their sustainability journey, as James just mentioned. Earlier this week, we were honored that the work that the entire family business community and the collective efforts of FBSD have put into develop these indicators were awarded special recognition at this year's ISAR honors. With that, I'd like to introduce each of the panelists and then have a short conversation with them in turn about some key elements of the initiative, as well as have them share some insights and learnings from the case study process. I'd like to begin with introducing Mr. Farhad Forbes, who is the core chairman of Forbes Marshall and chairman of the Family Business Network. Forbes Marshall is a third-generation family business headquartered in Pune, India, that for over 7 decades has been building steam engineering and control instrumentation solutions. Ms. Marlies Van Wif is CEO of Royal Van Wif Verf, a fourth-generation family business based in the Netherlands that has more than 100 years of history as an independent paint and coating solutions manufacturer. Ms. Gunzeli Umturk is the co-founder of Sun Textile and also a board member at the Family Business Network. Established in 1987, Sun Textile is a second-generation award-winning textile company based in Izmir, Turkey, and is among the 500 biggest companies in Turkey. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Mr. Carlos Gariga, Corporate Affairs Director at Equatorial Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Equatorial is part of Cobega Group, a 100-plus-year-old family business that operates in 29 countries. Alfonso Libano, who James mentioned earlier, and who you will hear from a bit later in the session, is the vice chairman of Cobega, as well as the co-chair of the FBSD Executive Board. Carlos will bring the non-family executive and practitioner perspective to the panel and will share some insights on moving from strategy to action. But without further ado, I'd like to start with Farhad and start by asking him to share his perspective on the topic of the panel in general, which is why is transparency so important to family business in this day and age? Farhad?
Thank you very much, Andrew, and it's good to be with you all this evening. James, I'd like to particularly thank you for this partnership and for the recognition that you provided to FBN yesterday as well, and particular thanks to my colleagues and particularly Alfonso for leading this effort for FBN through all these months of work. To answer your question, Andrew, on why is transparency important? Well, as you mentioned earlier, privately owned, since most of our family businesses are privately owned family businesses have previously not been required to report the work they've been doing in the area of sustainability, like many publicly listed firms today are. But it's clear that there's increasing pressure now to do so. And the pressure comes from, I think, as you mentioned, it comes from 2 sources. It comes from whether it's government and regulation, and also increasingly now, and what's much more important is public opinion. Governments change, and so policies change, but public opinion is much more stable. And when you have a trend in public opinion, those trends stick around for a while. And so we need to be much more concerned about that. I'd like to just refer to, some months ago, we had Jean-Francois Manzoni, president of IMD Business School, talk to some of us. And one of the things that he mentioned, which sort of stuck in my head, was that he said that family businesses need to not only do good, but they also have to be seen as doing good. So there are 2 dimensions here. Many of us who come from, long-standing family businesses, we have been involved with philanthropy. We've been involved with CSR work for many, many years, sometimes through generations. But it's also important that that work is not just good stuff which we've been doing, but it's seen to be effective, that it's seen to be making an impact. And so it requires communication, and that communication requires reporting on the subject as well. So why do family businesses need to report? Just a couple of comments on that. First, in case we don't, given that there is still need for information and that information today is being increasingly sought, either we as the businesses provide that information or someone else will provide it for us and possibly report incorrect or incomplete information on us. So we might as well set the record straight and say exactly what we're doing. And if we are doing good things, say that we're doing good things. If we are not, admit that we're not and say that this is where we've identified areas to improve. Second, when we report, we measure where we stand on the issues. And it's only when we measure that we can then review, we can benchmark, and then we can improve. And lastly, just a few things to just mention about the FBN position on this. And we have a pretty powerful network here. We have many committed members, and through the network, by sharing good practices, firstly by learning what needs to be done, sharing amongst ourselves, we can really further the impact that family businesses can make on the ESGs on the world. And given the prevalence of family businesses, we can make a substantial impact. Thank you, Andrew.
Great. Thank you, Farhad. Well, I think one interesting challenge of the process of developing the sustainability indicators for family business was figuring out how do we make sure that they're fit for purpose for family business. Having been a part of the network myself for quite a while, I know there's a lot of unique characteristics of family businesses. But when it comes to sustainability reporting, I think the question is, why do family businesses need a special set of indicators in order to reflect, their special contribution, whether it be of the family or the business?
Yeah. So if you look at what we're trying to achieve as far as the ESG goals are concerned, environmental and social goals for family firms are similar to those for non-family firms. However, family participation in family firms influences the long-term view of family firms. And as a result, it creates different motivators for addressing the E and the S goals. So while they're similar, this long-term perspective which we have and the fact that we see our presence in our family firms through multiple generations, it is important for us. So it's not only important for us, but we also see that we have a longer term objective to achieve. We're not just there for the next 5 or 10 years. We're there for much longer. And we want to have our firm successful through generations. So we need to do things on the E and the S differently, perhaps. On the governance goals, there are more differences given by the fact that family businesses have an added complexity insofar that we have to deal with both business and family issues. That's the main difference. So on the governance, there are more differences which actually are there for us to address. So consequently, when it comes to governance, besides the need to have right governance metrics and practices as they apply to any business, there are additional governance issues when it comes to managing the family and the relationship of the family to the business. So there are a few special indicators which I'd like to refer to here. First, independent directors. Many family firms are privately held with only family directors or non-family executive directors on the board. But there is much value to having independent non-family directors on our boards, even if we are not required to do so because we are not listed. What are those values that we should look for? First, strategic input for the success of the business, that's obvious. when you have a diverse set of board members who have expertise that goes beyond just the family, you get that strategic input. Second, the independent directors can aid family businesses in succession planning and in generational transition in the family. And third, they can help bring consensus within the family on key decisions. And particularly when there are potential conflicts which can arise, it's the independent directors on the board that can actually help resolve some of those issues and build consensus. So these are very important aspects for the long-term sustainability of the family firm. Second, family governance. And you have, as far as that's concerned, it's essentially a set of engagement rules that you have, or engagement guidelines that you have for the family. It also relates to family education. How do you actually educate the family on family business issues, on family governance issues? Third, philanthropy. Family philanthropy can be aligned with the business objectives, specifically business objectives which can be for the achievement of the ESG goals. So you can align the two. And as a result, then the philanthropy then is more impactful, it's more effective. And finally, the family influence on the business. Whether it's through direct management, if the family is directly involved in the management of the business, or if not, through the board, where they can help alignment on values and also influencing the business focus on ESG goals.
Great, thank you, Farhad. That was very insightful in terms of helping, I think, clarify, I think, a little bit more for the audience, the unique nature of family business, and in particular, why the governance piece, I think, is something that really needs to be looked at in a different way and reported on also independently. And that's why, if people look at the sustainability indicators for family business, you'll see that several of the indicators actually focus on the topic of governance to address many of the issues that you just brought up. Just in closing, in terms of talking with you, what I was hoping you could share some thoughts and some insights in terms of your that your company came out of in terms of participating in the case study process and using the sustainability indicators for family business, because this group is the first, I think, set of companies that have sort of truly put them to use. And so I'd love to start by, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about what you've learned about, your company by applying them and going through the reporting process.
Yeah, there are a few things which sort of, definite benefits which came about by doing this. First, the indicators allowed us to assess where we presently stood on some of the issues. And as I mentioned earlier, if you don't measure, you can't manage and improve. So just by being aware of where we stood on certain things, by actually capturing the numbers and the data in the manner that was determined as necessary, it helped us at least establish the benchmark. Where do we stand today? And not the benchmark, but where we stand today, so we can set a benchmark and work towards that. Second, it made us think of areas where we could clearly improve. And I can mention 4, which came up very clearly in what we saw when we sort of held the mirror to ourselves. First, gender diversity in the organization. We are a manufacturing company, and in manufacturing companies, particularly in India, though we have a pretty high female ratio, it's way, way below what it should be. So it became very apparent when we actually measured where we stood as far as that is concerned. And it's not just female population in the organization, but particularly when you go further up the organization in terms of senior management and even at the board level. Second, In terms of green investments, because that was one of the questions which was asked. And while we've been doing things in different areas, it was very good to actually capture it in an organized way. Third, percentage of local procurement. We know that's important, but again, by actually measuring it and being made to measure it, you actually come to know where you stand vis-a-vis what you think it was, or a perception of what it was. And finally, things like water, electricity usage, and all these are things we've been measuring, but again, capturing it so that we know where we stand and where we need to. And we've already made improvements as a result of doing just the basic measurement. So in this 1 year that we've been working on it, there've already been several improvements which have happened. And lastly, I just want to mention one thing, and that is it's very important. It became very clear that for us to make an impact and make a difference, it's necessary to have good communication within the organization, make it clear to people why we're doing it, why it's important. And so you get the involvement at the operational level, and the family and the top management commitment is very important to actually highlight and make known that this is an important thing. It's not just something which is the fad of the day, but it's something which is there for us to work on in a sustained way in the long term.
Great. Thank you very much, Farhan. Now I'd like to shift the conversation to Marlies. So Marlies, based on the information you shared with us in the case study process, we know that Royal Van Wif aspires to be the leading authority in sustainable coating solutions, which leads me to two questions. Why have you chosen to put sustainability at the center of your family business? And what role does transparency play in helping you achieve this goal?
Well, thank you, Andrew. Well, in family businesses, we think in generations. Farhad also already said that. And if I look back in our history, we always have sustainability more or less central, although the meaning of the word changed and evolved over time. And that is interesting to see, I think. In the first generation, it was survival and continuity of the company. In the second generation, there was more focus on looking after our employees. And in the third generation, that's my father's generation, there was more and more attention paid to the environment, less solvents in the paint, more water-based, more durable coatings. It was also the time that the Club of Rome entered the scene. And for me as a fourth generation, well, I'm sure that if a company is not willing to become sustainable, it will find itself out of business very fast. There is so much going on outside, where especially the loss of biodiversity is for me problem number one. There's a lot focus on climate change, but I think biodiversity is at least as important. And my family members support me 100%. I want our family business to help to get a healthier future for our planet. And in FBN, we say that our future is at risk if we don't do anything. So solutions for my business can be found, for instance, in looking in other raw materials like bio-based solutions. But for me, it's also very interesting that as a young girl, I wanted to become a biologist. I chose business administration and I chose the family business, and now I can combine these two passions. And I love that, actually. Shall I continue with your transparency question as well, Andrew?
Please do. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, well, also a little bit already said by Farhad, family businesses are very close by nature, and we are very much to ourselves. It's one of our characteristics. We also don't like to be told what to do, and we like to make our own plans. And I think that a lot of family businesses just love what they do and try what they do to be good. And we are not used to talk about that at all. So the result is that nobody outside knows the fantastic things that we do. So we all learn a lesson now that we have to tell what we do. Be good and tell about it. And I'm sure it will take some time, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm curious, and I know your company has done a lot of work in this space in looking at metrics and measurements. But so I think in general, though, I'm curious to hear from you, like what role do metrics and measurements tools like the sustainability indicators for family business do in helping your family business, continuously improve its sustainability performance, and even, in terms of helping you set your strategies? Oh, you're muted, Marlies, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, we are maybe interesting to tell you that we are a B Corp certified since 2016. And we were actually the first chemical company in the world to get this status. And to get B Corp, we had to deliver all kinds of metrics and measurements. And we noticed that we did not keep track enough of what we were doing. Now, we realized that, and in order to get better, we had to know what we were doing so that we could raise also the bar for ourselves. And we started doing that better and more professionally. We wrote down more policies instead of keeping it just in our heads. And by doing that, you get insights which allow you to discuss the topics with each other. You choose your battles, you make your plans, and it also helps you to involve your employees. And if you can succeed in making progress, you feel good about it, you can celebrate it. Of course, sustainability is a very serious business, but it can also be fun to become better. And this is exactly what also the sustainable indicators will give us when we use them. So that is why it's so important.
Great, thank you. Well, I'd like to ask you the same question I asked Farhad as well, in terms of, can you share some insights that were made specifically gained at your family business by going through the case study process and reporting on the sustainability indicators for family business?
Yeah, well, first, I want to state that I'm very happy with the fact that family business is finally acknowledged as a separate, distinctive organization form. And for too long, everything was based on the big corporates, and now it's finally changing. I'm very happy about that. So what we found out is that some definitions were not clear. It is difficult to answer questions if you do not know exactly what the question means or where it refers to or why it is so important. So that was in the beginning some of the feedback we gave to UNCTAD, but it helped to start the discussions in our own company and with my own management team a lot. For instance, the discussion about green investments. What is that exactly, and how do we calculate that? Was a very important one for us. So we decided to start collecting data on subjects we did not do before. We wanted to know where we stood and what we had to do to change things to get better on that. So the pilot with UNCTAD not only helped us to see where we stand and what SDGs we were contributing to, but also started new activities in our company. So if I wrap it up, being a pilot company was a very insightful experience. In starting collecting new data for better insights, starting good internal discussions on several old and new subjects. And of course, it was nice to see where we stand with the SDGs and how we can improve everything. Yeah, and it is simple. As Harrison Ford said recently on a IUCN convention, he said, let's get to work, and I fully agree.
Great, thank you. I also couldn't agree more. Perfect. Well, I would like to now shift the conversation to Gunzeli and talk a little bit about her family business. So Gunzeli, your family business is in the textile industry, which I'm sure, as we all know, has faced its fair share of challenges over the years on multiple sustainability issues, from worker rights to environmental footprints. How have these issues impacted your family business, and how has increased transparency helped you counteract this narrative?
Thank you, Andrew. I would like to start by sharing our sustainability journey with you first. As Andrew had already told, that we are a vertically integrated textile company located in Turkey. We are one of the first family businesses to test and use the sustainability indicators for family business platform. As you have heard earlier, this platform has been jointly developed by UNTAD and Family Business Network. We all know that 2/3 of the companies in the world are owned by families. So responsible ownership must be an important issue for every family to focus on. To me, a big part of the responsible ownership includes understanding your impacts and increasing your commitment to transparency. Luckily, digitalization and technology helps and makes it easier for every family business to increase its level of transparency. In our case, as you all may know, that the fashion industry can be both a high polluting and high water demanding industry. Knowing this, we have to work very hard over the years to lower our footprint in both areas. Also, progress in our operations dealing with this. It has been an important piece for us to figure out because we are committed to taking a holistic approach to sustainability. That means our stakeholders are a part of our sustainability journey, including our customers, suppliers, employees, and shareholders. Our focus is on always creating evaluated business partnerships, focus on improving our environmental practices in energy, water, material, production, and waste management, as well as a dedication to employee welfare and rights. Thanks to this strategy, we have been able to increase our business. It has also helped us attract talent and even investment to the company.
Thank you for sharing that, Gonzalo. I guess I'm interested because obviously transparency has been a big topic for your company over the years. I mean, what are your recommendations to your fellow family businesses in terms of addressing transparency within their family business?
I believe that transparency really plays a critical role in finding solutions to overcome climate crisis. We all need to build a better world altogether. So every family business needs to commit to increasing their transparency through easy available tools like sustainability indicators for family business platform, publicly reporting on sustainability metrics, and making their own commitments to environmental and social issues. On the last point, I would also recommend to the family businesses that every family business take the important step of identifying the SDGs that their company can and will make a bigger contribution on.
Great, thank you. And just, I'll ask you the same question I asked Farhad and Marlies. I'm just wondering if you could quickly share some insights or learnings that came out for Sun Textile in the case study process.
Thank you. Marlies and Farhad had already given some indications about their company. In our experience in testing sustainability indicators for family business, helped us to develop some additional processes which have in our sustainability reporting. Also, this study contributed to the development of our first public-facing sustainability report and has forced the importance of aligning the sustainability agenda with the values and purpose of our business. Our previous internal reporting, because we had already had the reporting before, only covered the conventional sustainability reporting, which didn't capture all activities of our family business. In turn, we have found it very helpful to use this new approach that combines family and business metrics altogether. To me, this set of indicators is perfect fit for any size of family business, no matter how much experience they have in. I may say that no matter in what phase is your family sustainability journey is, sustainability indicators for family business platform will help your company to start, even restart transparently reporting on your impacts and progress.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Andrew.
So last but not least, I'd like to shift the conversation to Carlos Gariga. Carlos, I wanted to start with maybe you could tell us a little bit more about Equatorial, because it's a pretty interesting company in terms of its geographic scope and I think its focus, but also, you know, your experience in gathering sustainability data from a family business that works across a diverse set of countries in Africa.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for the opportunity. Let me explain that Equatorial is today one of the Coca-Cola leading bottling companies in Africa. We have presence in 13 countries in the north and west of the continent. And from our first day in the African continent, more than 30 years ago, and Alfonso was the founder of the company, ECCBC Equatorial has been committed to operating sustainably, both in business practice, but also in our actions with our local communities. And this is extremely important to understand how to operate in Africa. So as part of the mandate from our shareholders, which includes Covega company and the Coca-Cola company, we have always sought to be leaders in driving the agenda for responsible business in the continent. We believe there is a strong business case for this. This is important, from driving energy efficiencies, improving employee satisfaction and engagement, and generating positive storytelling opportunities for marketing to an increasingly green-conscious consumer. Because from time to time, we are experiencing and we are acknowledging that some people are identifying or are seeking for responsible businesses to identify with. So this is important. This is a very important element to consider. So that mindset has led to us integrating the reporting of some key sustainability into our standard reporting routines, like our quarterly business review, which has a dedicated sustainability section where we review our performance against the targets we set. And this is important to understand, because 3-5 years ago, there was no sustainability section on the reports, and this has changed, and this has evolved. So this regular monitoring has really improved our ability to collect this type of data, and has made the external publications we make, like the annual non-financial information report, much easier to produce and much easier to understand to all the ECCBC community.
Great, thank you for sharing more details on that. I guess building on that, I guess I'd like to ask you, some would argue that, this kind of reporting, it's either too difficult or shouldn't be a priority for a family business that's working in a developing market like Africa. What would you say to this, and why is reporting on sustainability metrics such a priority for Equatorial and its parent company, Covega?
Yeah, we have seen in the past years an increasing demand from government, civil society, and consumers, not only for immediate improvements on ESG issues, but also transparency in every step of the way. This is extremely important, transparency and information. So I would say that is no longer something we can debate, and is rather something we have to accept as part of the business environment. We cannot refer to this as a nice to have, but as something mandatory to deal with. This is important to understand. And I also believe that ESG can create real and tangible value for the business. It should be seen as a competitive advantage rather than an extra cost to the P&L. And this is somehow difficult to make people understand on the companies, but at the end of the day, believe me that people realize the importance of ESG issues. And there are many examples where addressing societal concerns can yield productivity for a business. For example, as a bottler, as a Coca-Cola bottler, meeting our environmental targets for water use will also drive savings for the P&L itself. And that enables us to deliver our products at an attractive cost for the consumer. And this is just an example of many. So we have a lot of examples to demonstrate this. We like to say that companies need to find the sweet spot in their business strategy where they can both do well and do good, because it's absolutely compatible, absolutely compatible. Also, if you think about the reality of life on the continent, on Africa, it's clear that progress on ESG issues is vital and is urgent for the Africa's future. And as a business operating in Africa, we need to lead the way by an example to other companies, no matter which size, no matter, to follow the lead and operate in a transparent and in a responsible manner. We are committed to do so.
Great, thank you. I think I just wanted to also have you share some thoughts and insights on your journey through the case study process, because you also helped us test the indicators. But so I think quickly you could share some thoughts on the case study process, but also you've been the first company to test the indicators platform that we'll be launching today. And so if you could also just quickly share your thoughts on your experience using the platform and share some initial learnings you had in terms of actually going through the digital reporting process that will be available on this platform starting today.
Yes, Andrew, I think it's important. An important learning from the process we have been through is that top management alignment and commitment to the ESG agenda is extremely important and is mandatory. Without this commitment, we cannot succeed. And to achieve that, you really need to show them, to the executive committee, the business case for ESG. You need to demonstrate that it works, it flies, how the company can benefit from having a strong sustainability agenda. This is not theoretical. This is, we can demonstrate this, not only for reputational reasons, but because of the value creation opportunities, which are considerable in terms of finance, in terms of operations, in terms of talent attraction, talent retention, among others elements. So we also learned the importance of information and being aware of the impact that we are having on environment and in our communities. When we begin to understand this, it becomes easier to estimate how much we can invest in transforming our business and our communities in Africa. This is important. When we delivered our first non-financial information report, which was 4 years ago in Spain, and we also tested the sustainability indicators for FBN, it gave us both an insight into areas we could do better, this is true, but also a powerful tool to demonstrate the good work that we have done so far. And this is important as well. So regarding the process itself of creating sustainability reporting routines, it is not as difficult as it could seem, is it not? It is true that you may need some internal and external resources and expertise at the beginning, but sooner rather than later, the organization can create its own knowledge and its own capabilities. So it's not difficult.
Great, thank you. I guess, as I mentioned earlier, though, you would also participate in helping us test the digital platform. So just if you could quickly share some thoughts on that process and what your feeling was in terms of using the platform. And so others who are interested in starting using it today might have some initial insights to go on.
Yes, ECCBC has been participating, as you know, in the testing phase of the platform. So it has been a very positive experience for the team, for myself. I can say that the system is user-friendly, intuitive, and there are guidelines to help you calculate each of the indicators, so very easy to understand. If your company is used to reporting sustainability data, you will find it very easy. This is true. And if not, the platform guide will help your teams on the best way to get the data. So no problem at all from this perspective. And in particular, I would highlight that it's interesting that FBN indicators were a bit different in the sense that are business oriented. And this is a very positive element. And they are very good framework to follow in our sustainability journey. So yeah, the business orientation, I think, is a very interesting element that you have put on the table.
Great. Thank you very much, Carlos. Thanks for sharing all of those great insights. And thank you to all of the panelists once again for sharing your insights and learnings with us today. Yeah, I think from our side, one of the big learnings that we were hoping to get out of the case study process was this idea of, are these indicators fit for purpose for family business? And I think the case study process really showed that that is the case, that these indicators are well suited and well positioned for any family business. And I think what we're really hoping, in terms of the Family Business for Sustainable Development's partnership, is that ultimately these indicators will hopefully become, the set of standards that can be universally applied to family businesses and family firms, rather than having multiple sets of standards out there. Certainly if you're already reporting, we encourage you to continue doing so, but we think there's a lot of value to be gained in terms of consolidating reporting under one set of indicators that hopefully the family business community can get behind, because that will really start us on the journey of understanding the full scope and impacts of the family business community in terms of sustainability, and particularly also what progress we're making specifically on helping achieve the SDGs. So with that, I'd like to hand the floor over to Ms. Christiane Stepanek-Allen, who is the Chief of Responsible Investment and Partnerships at UNCTAD. Christiane is going to introduce the new Sustainability Indicators for Family Business platform and walk you through it a bit. So over to you, Christiane.
Thank you to the panel and the affirmation that we are on the right track.
Christian, louder, please. Louder.
Can you hear me now?
Could you start it again? Otherwise, we cannot record it.
I hope the audio works now. Thank you very much to the panel. Who I think have given us a very good indication that with the work we've done so far, we are on the right track. It does yield positive results, and I'm talking at the initiative as a whole. And what I remember, we went from the pledge and then to say, now you've pledged, you're making a commitment, but what to do next or how to take the next step. And if it's too complicated, too cumbersome, we will not get companies to start applying those indicators and to report on them. Now, it's just my pleasure now to very briefly give you a snapshot of the platform, so you get a sense of what we are providing jointly. Yes. So what we have and what you find here is, once you are interested in reporting and using our indicator platform to report on our family business sustainability indicators, you'll come through it on our website, and we will have several links that you can then start very easily on Start Reporting, and that will take you directly to
creating a personal profile. And once you've created your personal profile, then is really when the work starts for you. You can choose, and I'm just highlighting a few easy elements. You can choose any given year that you want to start trying it out, report on it, wherever you have data available or you want to start. Your data will then be reflected throughout the years. So you also have the possibility to benchmark, track your progress, and see where more work has to be done. Now, you have your own personal login details. Nobody else accesses this information. This is for you and whoever you designate to input the data and complete the reporting process. As we've heard from the panels, maybe at the beginning, there are certain indicators that are considerations that you have not looked at in your company, or you don't have the data available. It is for you, it is your reporting system to see where you don't have data, and it spurs a discussion, hopefully internally in the firm and then or amongst your families, what you need to do in order to take action on those indicators. The data will always stay with you, and once you start reporting on those indicators, we have a very simple sheet. You will see our 5 areas of indicators as we've mapped them out in economic, environmental, social, institutional, and family business area. As you've heard, these are our 42 indicators, and you see then for what year you're reporting on, and it will also give you an indication on how much you have completed of the inputting your personal data. If I just give a quick example here, for example, when we talk about social area, let's take, for example, the human capital. These are the indicators and sub-indicators that you need to report on, and you can see the data from your end is inputted either in total figures, you can adjust and which currency you are reporting on, percentages are automatically calculated, and then you also see a little eye on the side, and that is what Carlos already referred to. What we have is extensive guidance on how each of these indicator areas can either be reported on, calculated for your own understanding, or where in your own firm you can find the data if you have not reported it in a way that would align with the SDGs. The main point of the platform is the platform is for you. It is what we've heard so far. It is easy to use. All the calculations are pre-programmed, also pre-programmed your progress over time. And it is your decision when you input the data and when you go to the point where you say, this is actually my finished report for the year. You can export it, you can print it. It is for you. We are not tracking or having access to your individual data. We will be looking at information from the platform that gives us an overall aggregated description, absolute anonymous aggregated numbers that tell us overall how family businesses are coping with the platform, and also where do we see that they're making progress over time and compare it. Now, there are 2 important issues that I'd like to mention. Here's the guidance indicators that the 4 first ones were developed by UNCTAD. These are the core indicators, and FBSD, Andrew, and us in particular, we were developing the guidance for the family business specific indicators. So you have enough reference material to get started on your own. And I think that was one of the aims we had. We wanted to have a tool, a platform where you don't need excessive external help to get started. You can input the data, you can finish your own reports. As we've heard from Farhad and the other speakers, communication and transparency is a key issue. we will not be publishing any data on your part unless you authorize us to do so. We've had the great advantage of having our 4 case study family businesses who agreed to have their reporting process published and made live. It will be published at our case studies that we will be publishing soon. If you wish to share this information, either you use it for your own sustainability report, then you know where you get the data from, or you want to publish the data that you have per annum. Once you feel comfortable, you can say you publish it, and then we can share it with the family business community of FBSD. So as we heard, it is universally applicable for any size, any geography, and any industry. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you when you start your reporting process. I think there's no more excuse now. So you have a tool free of charge from the United Nations and the FBSD program. And we're looking forward to having many inputs to start, hopefully already for the year 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. So I think in closing, we want to have Alfonso Libano speak just briefly, share a few thoughts of his, as he's the co-chair of the FBSD Executive Board, along with James. Alfonso?
Hello? Yes, you can hear me. Hello, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Christian, James. Thank you, Gunseli. Thank you, Malif, Farad, and Carls. Thank you, dear friends. Now you know more about this exciting new platform and why it is critical for every family business to start to measure the impact. I'm asking every one of you to act today. The time has come for family business to step up, accelerate the work we all do to drive positive change in both our businesses and our communities, and to be more public about it. As family businesses owners and operators, we can no longer afford to quietly and humbly go about our business and hope that our actions will speak for themselves. We must proudly communicate our achievements with confidence and humility, while also being honest about our challenges. We need to transparently measure and report on our impacts, so we have the data required to build better businesses and better quantify the contributions we're making to the society. Most importantly, we must show family businesses are leading the way through a firm commitment to sustainability in every aspect of our business. So first and foremost, I'm asking everyone to sign the pledge today, if you haven't already, and start using this new platform to create a data set that can help you better manage your businesses and follow these widely recognized standards. Once you have started, ask your families, your friends, and anyone connected to family business to do the same. Because we need every one of the 17,000 members of FBN community and beyond to stand up and to be counted. Start, please, signing the pledge. As we have heard from all speakers today, transparency is something every family business must embrace going forward. Measuring what matters and reporting on impacts will be central to the future growth and sustainability of every family business. We believe that sustainability indicators for family business we have developed through this partnership with TACT will be a great tool for every family business. So we have hope you will consider using them as a part of how you report going forward. So dear friends, let's go for it. Let's show the world what we are all about, that we are here for the long term, and that we are committed to delivering business solutions to some of the world's more pressing challenges. So let's make it happen, starting right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfonso. Now just over to James quickly for some closing thoughts and remarks.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Alfonso, for the encouraging statement. Now, what is left for me is just to say that on behalf of Alfonso and myself, the co-chair of the executive board of the Family Business for Sustainable Development, I'm now delighted to launch the Family Business for Sustainable Development online platform for reporting on sustainability indicators for family business. Now log in, start your sustainability journey, start tracking, measuring, and reporting, and we'll be with you on this journey. Let's start together. Thank you.